Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Josh.
And this is
NFGeeks.
All right, Josh, this is Podlair Part 2, because this was such a fascinating event that it warrants who knows how many videos. There's so much to talk about here.
It was a massive, life-changing experience, I think, amongst all the NFGeeks population.
Yeah, they are. It is. And, we should talk about those multiple types of reactions. Let's talk about NFGeeks for a little bit. Okay. You're actually the only one who immediately said, charge!
Let's get them!
Right, let's go. And I knew I was going to respond because I am NFGeek, so I'm responsible for all of you. So as soon as I saw him, I said, okay, I'm doing something. But everyone else kind of either thought, let's not respond, or I don't want to respond, or I don't know how to respond.
Yeah, some people were like Brittany didn't really care. She was just like, I don't really, someone's making fun of us, I don't care.
Yeah.
And then Brad was just kind of like, this is weird, but it's kind of cool, whatever.
Yeah.
And then there was a couple of people that were like, I'm really freaked the hell out, but I'm scared. Mike, get him. There was a couple of people like that,
yeah.
And then there was someone that was really angry. I don't know.
And that's actually a good point. The purpose of these
broad
videos,
spectrum of emotions.
Yes, and what I think Podlair needs to hear is that has been the reaction of everyone who received a video that has contacted me.
Other channels.
Yes, other channels, and that we have to, at some point we have to talk about how this is impacting in their, I don't want to say marketing, but that sounds a little too businesslike, but the way they're approaching
their
this,
audience. Maybe?
I don't know. I think they're their own audience. I don't know that they have an audience. Maybe. I suppose they might. But the way they want people to buy into this, but the way they're doing it is
it's very creepy.
Yes, and closing the door. So we have to address that in a minute. There's so much to address. All right. So we were talking about the, how this matches up, and again, one of the things that I found weird is that they're saying I have they're saying I have introverted intuition and extroverted feeling, and that goes against my entire experience. I don't know whether I can say it of myself. It completely does not make sense to me. When I try to think about it, I try to see how it is. I can't get there. And that's assuming that's what these terms mean, even. I mean, I'm sort of guessing.
Right.
Because they got 50 hours of videos, so it's very hard to...
one video is an hour long.
Right,
it's
at
just
least.
About you.
Right, let alone their training videos. So I've been trying to, watch a few to, get into this. And also just to say, too, this isn't an attempt to get them. I mean, we are trying to analyze and be honest in being critical, but not in a mocking or a hurtful sense.
Right, we're not trying to say that they are completely wrong.
Or evil.
Or bad, yeah. They have a right to think what they want to think. We're just giving our response.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't know that anyone else has responded from the other channels. I haven't seen a response.
So we are the voice of the masses right
yeah,
now.
Maybe. I don't know, unless some of you have responses and I didn't find out about it. Okay, so you were talking about how this didn't connect with you, and also that a bunch of us have the same personality when it
we're
really
completely
doesn't
different.
see that it happens. So what's your experience of that, and I'll tell you more of my experience.
I was just watching the video of myself, and I was just listening to what he had to say about me, trying to see if there was anything that I could find true. And I think the way he was saying that I listen to people, how I listen for information, may be correct, I think. But the way, but he said that some of the gestures that I do, how sometimes I don't look at people when I talk, that means I'm thinking about something and then delivering it to them or something like that. I guess that's true. Maybe, but I don't
did it resonate with you?
But sometimes, what the problem is, it didn't, because sometimes he said that I do that maybe in a way to be rude because I don't agree with what you're saying, but that's not true. So
sure.
I was just no.
Right, and that's a good point, because this is one of the issues I had, is that I couldn't see anybody in these things. Whereas if I read, let me give the best example I had. I watched Noah's first, and he got the cute one. Did you notice that? If you saw that, we got the Pope, but he got the cute one, and that video, did a half hour of him, and I couldn't see him in it. You know what I mean? There was nothing in there that I could connect and say, oh yeah, that's my son. I couldn't.
Right.
Whereas if I read ISTJ
Right.
in the Myers-Briggs, it's like
It nails him.
Right. It's somebody following him around with a tablet.
Right.
And taking notes.
That's kind of what I was thinking too.
That's really weird. It's more weird because when I read ISTJ, I think, it might as well say ISTJ will check the level of milk, especially if an ENFP isn't. You know what I mean? It's almost like ghostly. Like, is the spy satellites watching us?
Because when I was like you said, there's no you don't see yourself, because I was listening for something that I thought was maybe me, and I was like, well, maybe a little bit of this is me, 5% of this is me, but I don't see where the other 95% is. Whereas when I took my Myers-Briggs assessment test and I was reading ENFJ, I was like, holy crap. I was probably more freaked out because, like you said, I'm like, are they stalking me? How do they know?
Yeah, what is it psychic?
How do they know I yell my feelings at people? It's scary.
Right, and that's... And here's the thing, if this was a better theory, I feel that hearing it would connect me more to myself, and I would see myself so clearly that I would gladly dump MBTI, and that didn't occur.
Right.
And I don't sense that it occurred with anybody else.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, it's saying that the correlation, they're trying to make a correlation. I use that term loosely because I don't see any math here. We'll get to science here in a minute. But they're trying to make I'll say connection. They're trying to make the connection between a physical response in the face and a gesturing of the eyes that connects to a specific part of, and again, what they would say your mojo or your personality.
Right.
Okay. And that makes sense, but somehow the connection is off.
Right.
You say that's correct?
Yeah.
Only slightly off, though, because they got the fact that we're intuitives, so, there's something going on there. But, I mean, you could argue that, well, they know I'm an ENFP, because I say it on every freaking video, so they could just, say, well, he's an intuitive, we could just say he's an intuitive, because he's saying he's an intuitive.
Right.
But that's what they're doing, but you could argue that,
Yeah, because one problem that I had was, another thing was, they said I was they said we were Nyy'zai?
They said, no, they said we were, Nyy'zai. Okay, and you know what, here's something we have to say out loud. This terminology is way too esoteric and difficult to say, and totally unintelligible.
Can you just say I'm an NX?
Yeah, really? Right.
Please.
Could you say that? I mean, this is sounding like Portuguese Klingon.
Hey.
It's way too... You need to have more clear terms. That would help a lot.
But
in terms of understanding this.
They were saying he just kept saying how I was a something and not a... But I think I'm a this, but I'm really a this. And so he was trying to prove why I was something in his system.
Yes.
And that's fine, but I can make a system to make anyone fit anything that I design it to. He never disproved that I wasn't an ENFJ, which is really the only real big issue that I have, is if I'm not an ENFJ, how so? He never really proved that I wasn't.
No, it was only that you misread yourself, and here's what you actually are, as opposed to how you misread yourself. I mean, and again, it's esoteric. I mean, they're going to talk about the memes and the...
Yeah, right. They're going to say that I'm only an ENFJ because society wants me to be an ENFJ or something like that, because I've been brainwashed to be an ENFJ, but I don't see...
Yeah.
They claim that their systems, even about love, you can find love systematically with math.
Yes.
And I'm like...
Yeah, I know. I saw that. That is totally offensive to an NF.
Yeah. Give me this equation, because...
yeah, all the NFs are just... If they heard that, their brains exploded. Okay, that brings up a good point, because, he typed us, so I don't see any problem with typing back.
Right.
Okay, and so my guess is, and I could be wrong, because I'm just kind of throwing this out there, but there's something INTJ about all this. Okay?
Right.
All right, so I want to sell
because
that.
he is judging.
Yes, and only an NT would think there's a formula to love.
Correct.
Right? Only an NT would think, yes, that's, X squared divided by heart equals...
Equals forever eternal love.
Right, exactly. And so I think, here's why I think he's an INTJ. I think he's an NT because this is a rational system. Okay.
To him.
Yes. Well, at least it has an internal rational thought to it. And the reason why I think it's NT is because all the terms are defined and there's some sort of internal logic. Now, it sounds spiritual like NF, but I think spiritual terms have been co-opted.
It's kind of like Brad's NT.
Yes.
Like how Brad really wants to be mystical, but he can't because he's made of nuts and bolts.
Right.
This guy.
And that's perfect example because I think that's why they have an INTP, or he said it was an INTP. I'm forgetting his name. It's a made-up name. I think it's a Demas or something. I may be getting it wrong. No, I think that's right, a Demas. And I could see why he buys into it for that same reason. Okay. No, I think he's an INTJ because, nobody rocks a neck beard like INTJ, first of all. Bland, kind of bland shirts. And also, this whole thing is like a very overly complex system that's sent out to people without any empathic attempt at understanding how they would take it. Okay? And then there's anger when it's not understood, and then basically the person's called stupid. Okay, and that has INTJ,
and poisoned.
Right, and you just, and then a rejection, then a total rejection, because I think people get blocked or something. So that's very INTJ to me. So there's an INTJ consciousness, I think, I would, and the eyes. Coach has, see, we can do it too. Coach has the INTJ eyes. That I call it the Gurbles, because Gurbles had that stare, that deep stare, So I call it, that's my name for it. So, yeah, and and the complexity doesn't. There's so many complex words. I don't know if it refers to anything. I don't know if we get to reality here.
Right, because there was a point where he was just like, your subconscious awareness, obsessive compulsive, subjective, reality, differential, obsessive capacitor is off.
I know, and I'm like, what the fuck? What is that?
I'm willing to buy what you're saying if I knew what you were selling.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, and that's why. And that's why there's some sort of religiosity here, because religions have their own secret language that in order to be initiated into the thing, you have to learn the language. Scientology's like that. You got to get all the Scientology terms down, thetans and OT and clear, and there's a whole sort of way of speaking that goes in order to buy into it. And that's why I think there's and by religion, I don't need spiritual and God. I mean religion in terms of rituals and in terms of having truth. Like they call this an omni theory. Like they have the truth. That speaks to a cult. When somebody says they have God in their pocket, where my pocket is, that's bad. You can't have God in your pocket.
You might be drinking Kool-Aid soon. That's what he's trying to say.
Yeah, maybe. Well, extremely. I don't think that harmful.
No, yeah, we don't. Yeah, that's
I
joking,
don't think,
but
yeah,
yeah, they don't seem like they're like bad people or anything like that.
No, and I think they actually believe they're
trying to help. Yeah.
I mean, let's be. Their intent, I think, is not.
Yeah, I agree. Wrong.
But it doesn't seem like a scam. Like they're really trying to hurt us. I don't get that.
But they're just doing it in a very weird, just a very weird way. It's just rubbed a lot of people the wrong way.
Right, and that speaks to and that's why I think it's INTJ, because
their approach is very rough.
Yes, and it also seems like a little bit like Jehovah's Witnesses, because it's basically knocking on the door.
Yeah,
they're basically knocking on. They're not asked. Nobody called them. They're knocking on the door. Here's our reality, and you don't have the truth. You're a heathen. They don't say heathen, but it's very. It seems like that. That
door to door. We're corrupted.
Yeah.
So, I mean, almost heathen.
There's also a little bit of, I don't know if the others did this, but I kind of got from Coach a little bit of arrogance in his own rightness, his own correctness, and a little condescending.
I did also find he was condescending because there was...
him.
Him. Because he was... there was like a point where he said he was like criticizing something about us not understanding something we're doing, and then he was like, he laughed and called us silly or something, and I'm like, oh, well, that's kind of rude of you.
Yeah, that's gonna buy into this.
Yeah,
we're really gonna. You're selling it. That's what I'm saying. The sell is wrong.
Yeah,
but that doesn't necessarily speak that the theory is wrong. But just because things connect doesn't mean you have causality. A lot of things connect in the universe. It doesn't mean you have, even if the math works, it doesn't mean you have causality. When I teach research methods in psychology, I point out that if you could you can mathematically chart Halley's Comet, going away from the Earth in terms of speed and distance, and if you could somehow mathematically measure Michael Jackson's wackiness over time, you can make a correlation between Halley's Comet moving away and Michael Jackson, and you could infer from the math a correlation, because the further Halley's Comet moved away, the crazier Michael Jackson became. Is one causing the other?
No.
You know, even though they're moving through, you know, even though there's a measurement you could make and you could observe a connecting movement, doesn't necessarily mean one is causing the other. Michael Jackson's craziness isn't forcing Halley's Comet
Right.
away from the Earth.
Or maybe it's the lack of the energy from Halley's
Comet
is making Michael Jackson more crazy,
right?
less
When
talented.
it was closer, right? When it was closer, it was giving him, you know, his powers. You know, exactly. So just because you have a connection, and another thing too is that the connection is loose because there's no way of proving directly that you actually have NI or FE. You would need, I hate to tell you this, like the Myers-Briggs inventory.
A questionnaire.
Right, a questionnaire where you could find out if someone has NI and then see if the physical things are
matching. Because if you don't, then all you're doing is being subjective, my friend, making me whatever you want to see.
Yeah. And they do seem to be. Again, there's a thing. I think the reason why they believe it there is a consistency. They've created a system that has an internal logic that is consistent.
Right.
You know?
Wizard hands and hunter's hunch.
You've been paying attention. You took notes. All right, that's the end of part 2.